Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by startnewcompany.com.au. Register your company fast, easy, and direct with ASIC. All documentation is provided and held in your account for downloading at any time. If you're an accountant or other professional, you're also able to brand all documents with your company name. Coming soon, ABN, TFN, and trusts. Special discount for ATH listeners. At the cart, use ATH20 for a $20 discount. And athwebhosting.com.au. Servers operate on SSD drives. Immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, and easy install of WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. Welcome to episode 673 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on the 16th of April 2020. I'm your host, Jason Oakley, and this is my co-host, Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate. How goes it?
Always the co-host, never the host.
Yeah, you know.
Womp, womp.
I got enough to do without hosting the show as well. I only do
you
all
do,
the production.
You do all the hard work now. I just sit back.
I only do all the production and the editing and the uploading and the streaming and yeah, that's fine. You can host the show.
How's things going for you?
Yes.
I hear Facebook hates you.
Oh, look, not just Facebook.
What did you do to upset Zuck?
So Facebook hates me, and apparently Google hate me. But yeah, no, I posted. I'll show you. I'll bring the pictures up because why not? I got banned. I'm just loading the photos. It's I did have them, and then I decided to close the thing. So
good work.
Yeah,
it's preparation.
I know,
we're professionals, damn it.
And
one of us is.
Yeah, I don't know which one though. That's the problem. But yeah, so I don't know if you can't. Let me zoom in somewhat. There we go. So I posted that 12 months ago. It was the 21st of March last year I posted that. And so they decided that yesterday, apparently I'd only just posted it and it was upsetting a lot of people, and they, you can't really read it, but basically it says that I've been banned from Facebook for 30 days. So
there's no real great loss there, is there?
Well, no.
We only use Facebook because we have to, not because we want to.
Yeah, pretty much. And I wasn't really even concerned about it, honestly. I didn't really think much of it until tonight when I went to stream. And I figured, okay, what they meant when they said you can't go live, I thought, okay, I can't go live on my page or on a page I own. I didn't realise I couldn't go live on a page I manage, which is a problem when you're trying to stream through the Aussie Tech Heads page to Facebook. So anyway, we got around that. But man, something so simple like that just...
You upset the man.
And you got to review. And so, okay, there's an option for reviewing. So I said, okay, I put a review in. And then it says, due to COVID-19, we're short-staffed and the review could take up to 6 months. I'm like, but it's only a 30-day ban. What's the point of review taking 6 months? Like, after 12 months...
Just have to wait it out.
So it's like, seriously? Whatever. I don't care. Just whatever. I'll deal with it for 30 days. Not a big deal. And then on the same day, I was setting up a tablet. I've got an old Samsung tablet, and I was using it, but I decided to give it to Cam to watch YouTube and stuff on. So I was setting up with YouTube Kids, and there's another app you can use called Google Family, and you set up email account. Well, according to them, you set up email accounts for your kids, and then you have full control over what they can and can't see and what they can do and whatever, which is fine. So I went in, set up his email account, entered his date of birth, which is what you have to do for the family thing to work, and then it said, sorry, you're younger than 15, we've suspended your account for 90 days. But hang on.
Will he turn 16 in 90 days?
No, after 90 days they delete it. They suspended it for 90 days to give you time to get your information out of it, then they're going to delete the account. And it's like, but hang on, you just told me to... Oh, the account was already there because he's been using it for... Well, I made it when he was born, basically. Yeah. So, and he's been using it for 5 years or 4.5 years. And it was only because I put the date of birth in, which is what they told me to do, that they suspended the account. I'm like, hang on. You told me to enter the date of birth so that I could then control the account. And then you go and tell me that because I entered my date of birth and he's younger than 18, which obviously he is because I want to control his account, that I can't control his account and you're going to delete his account. What?
You can only control accounts of kids 16 and up.
It's like, who does anybody?
Anyone under 15 gets the free reign of the Google network.
The people, yeah, exactly. If you don't put your date of birth in, it doesn't complain. It only complains once you put the date of birth in. And then I said, okay, fine, I'll go and change the date of birth. So I went to change the date of birth, and it goes, you need to provide ID. I'm like, but how can you provide ID on an account that's not actually in your name?
Yeah.
How does that work? What ID do you want for... like, what?
It's a comedy of errors.
So, I don't know, but...
time for a new account.
And then also, like, the tech problems we've had tonight is just insane, on top of all the other problems we've had. And I was supposed to... Glenn, I know you're watching because you tell me you watch, so I don't want to see this in Facebook Messenger later when you ask me why. The new intro is just not ready because I ran out of time and couldn't get it uploaded onto OBS. I couldn't get it in there in time for the show tonight.
Sometimes he has trouble getting it up.
Yeah. Usually when there's people around. And so I don't want to see a message on Facebook tomorrow going, oh, you didn't use the new intro.
You'll see it anyway.
Yeah, I know, right? You probably will.
Your account will be reported for not using the intro.
I mean, I know...
you'll be banned from YouTube now.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, I know people have been suspended for 24 hours and stuff on Facebook, and I have never had a suspension or a ban or a warning even on Facebook. Like, how come they went straight for the 30 days? Like, that's like one of their that's the second toughest punishment. The next one is just a total suspension or account deletion.
Somebody must have had a...
It have to be more than one person. It had to have been a lot of people would have had to report that. Get a few
of your friends to report somebody for something that they didn't like for no reason.
So
what else you got to do? I'm sitting at home with the COVID out there. What am I supposed to do? I'll just start reporting random people and see what happens.
Well, I mean, Brad on YouTube, what's he on? He's on Twitch. He's actually just put in the comments saying that he got banned for posting for 24 hours for simply using... I can't read the words from you, but it's simply for using some words to criticise some of Sydney's draconian nightlife laws. And he got suspended for 24 hours. And on something that I posted a couple of days ago, yeah, okay, fine, suspend me, but not a post that's over 12 months old. I mean, come on.
Bloody ridiculous, mate.
But anyway, so as is our general plan of attack, we're trying to minimise how many coronavirus stories we have.
Yeah, everyone's going to die. Just get used to it.
It's quite difficult because literally every single story in the news feed mentions coronavirus. So,
even the technical ones are about how technology is going to deal with the coronavirus. Like Apple and Google put together an app that's going to track you around the world and report back your every move. And then the Australian government's making an app so they can tell you if you were within 2 meters of somebody who's definitely got COVID in the last 24 hours and all this crap. It's like, who's going to install an app from the Australian government that tracks you around Australia?
I can tell you who.
Tells you.
The people who are going to install that app are the same people who ring up the police and complain because you went exercising twice in one day. And
because you post things to Facebook they don't like.
Yeah. They're the people who'll do it. I guarantee you. It's just like, seriously.
And then the current war between ScoMo and Turnbull.
No, yeah.
Turnbull released a book saying Scotty sucks, and Scotty's friends are like, yeah, well, he was horrible. We don't like Turnbull anyway. So they're all knifing each other. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and there's a story I was even reading about what seemed like an innocent story about a guy who's saying, I don't know what the big deal is because I've been working from home for the last 8 years. And then he's carrying on about, but now all the things changed because now everyone else is at home because of the virus and I can't get in there. And I'm like, for crying out loud. Is there anything that happens in this world lately? Well, apparently Zoom is unaffected by the virus. Or not in a good way anyway. Zoom's copping a flogging from left, right and centre at the moment. They can't win no matter what they seem to do.
We love Zoom.
Well, we do. We use it. We don't have any problems. We have great video quality, great audio quality, no dropouts, very, very few buffering issues. We use it all the time.
Google Meet.
Yeah, Hangout.
and everything else we tried.
But there's still, I mean, there's companies that are banning the use of it, going to Microsoft, whatever their thing's called. There's people who are still. I got a story here. Might as well, seeing as we're going that way. Actually, before I do that, I should talk about how your life's been. I forgot you got a life. I know, right? You wouldn't be having any extra work at all.
Nothing exciting's happened in the last week. I'm waiting for some parts from my Commodore 64 to come from overseas, and one from Melbourne now because, as it turns out, I think we mentioned it last time, the Commodore 64 power supplies can kill the Commodore 64. So I ordered a little protector, or they call it a saver. You just plug your power into there and then plug that Commodore 64. And
yeah, it's a couple of, it's basically smoothers to take out the surging, yeah.
So I'm waiting for one of them to come from. I haven't dared turn the computer on just in case. I'm too paranoid now. They're like, oh yeah, any second. And then I go to Twitter and this guy is like, oh, I turned on my Commodore 64 today and the sound doesn't work. They're like, yeah, the power supply blew the sound chip. And you can't get sound chips, so you have to get a third-party sound chip, which is almost as good as the originals, but not quite. But there's nothing else you can do, so tough. So I'm like, I'm not plugging it in or turning on or anything until I get my saver.
It's normally when the power supply heats up and it's been in use for a while. It's not generally instant. It usually happens over a period of time.
Well, I don't know if it's true because you know more than I do, but somebody had said that even if the power supply is plugged into the computer and the computer is switched off, but the power supply has still got power coming from the power board, that it can cause damage.
Because it only turns off the 5-volt rail, I think. It doesn't turn off it doesn't turn off one of the rails, it only turns off one of them. So yeah, that would make sense that could happen. But once again, it's usually because the power supply is hot because it's been left on.
But I'm just going to leave it unplugged until I get my saver.
Yeah, I mean that's the easiest thing to do. But it's as I was saying, somebody in the comments on last week's show said it's not just the basic power supply; it's got 2 multi-voltages in it. And because I was mentioning that there is a adapter you can get. I think from memory, I have to go back and read the comment. I think it was a 5-volt rail and a 9-volt rail. I think the Commodore uses. But there's an adapter you can get that plugs into a standard power supply from, I think it's from 12 to 19 volt, and it steps down and splits the power. And it's only a little tiny matchbox size thing, so you haven't got to have that big massive brick.
Send me the deets. I'll get one.
I think I saw it on eBay. I think, but
other than that, not a lot.
It's funny being a Commodore 64 Mario in the chat's like, don't forget about Glenn. He's still having He's still having issues working at his Commodore 64 computer.
That's what he streams from, isn't it?
That's his audio recording computer, I think.
Yeah. Other than that, I helped port over the last few months a programming system called the Multi-Platform Arcade Game Designer.
The multi-platform?
Multi-platform. It was originally made for Spectrum, but now it works on Amstrad and it works on VZ now, thanks to me.
Nice.
And BBC Micro and Dragon 32 and all these other computers. So you just program stuff once and then you go export to these platforms and it writes the code in assembly for you, which is really fast.
Well, that makes it easy.
And I made a Manic Miner type platform game, but nobody seems to care about it. So I'm going to do one for Spectrum, not like Manic Miner because they already got that, obviously, but a platform type game anyway. So I think I'll do one for Spectrum because they asked about if anyone was interested in porting it to Commodore 64. Everyone said, no, we don't care, so they're not going to do that. And I would like to make games for that, but I'll have to learn assembly from scratch again and where all the memory locations is, how to do sprite multiplexes and all this crap. So this software already does Spectrum and everyone's excited about the Spectrum Next. So they would download a game even if I put it on itch.io for free or something.
Speaking of older games, I was watching a really interesting documentary on Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
And
is that how it manipulates the hardware or something?
Yeah, how they completely just it's so mind blowing what they did. They completely hacked basically from the second they loaded the disc, they basically hacked the firmware as the game was loading to allow it to do things that it was never supposed to, which is why, I mean, Crash Bandicoot, out of all the PlayStation games, hands down, had the best graphics. Like, the graphics were just spectacular on it. You know, better than Sonic, better than Tomb Raider, better than all these other games. So they were fine.
Yeah.
But compared to
memory was so short.
Compared to Crash Bandicoot, they were, you know, nothing really.
Yep.
And this documentary, it's called it's on the War Stories from Ars Technica. It's how Crash Bandicoot hacked the game. Yep. And this guy's one of the developers, and they went through and talked about how. So I mean, there's an example. That's what Crash Bandicoot, you know, looked like, and then you had, you know, like Sonic, or you know, in here somewhere they show a screenshot of Tomb Raider. I can't think where it is, but what they did, you know, things like changing shader qualities and stuff on the fly to change frame rates, and loading sections off the disc and using the disc as memory, and bypassing some of the software libraries that slowed the game down. And I'm not super technical. Like, some of the stuff, I got the general gist of what they were doing.
I want to watch it now.
But it's really amazing, like how they, like here's a section here, for example. So they worked out that over a 30-second period, the internal memory of the PlayStation could hold, say, 20 seconds worth of data, and the CD-ROM took 10 seconds to spin up and load the next section. So as long as they were always 10 seconds, they had 10 seconds loaded into memory, they could load 10 seconds in at one end and pull 10 seconds out of the other end and keep the drive spinning. So they were able to load, everybody else was trying to load entire levels.
So you'd have it pause and wait for it to load, whereas they just kept going.
Well, yeah, you know, everyone else was trying to load entire levels at a time, but what these guys were doing was they were filling the memory buffer up, and then that was playing into the game, and then while that was playing into the game, they'd load the next lot of memory up, so they never actually had to sit there and wait for buffering.
Oh, nice.
And it was just amazing to watch. Like, it's one of the original, like, hacks. They hacked the game that they were supposed to be.
I want to watch that now.
It's if you're even remotely interested in. There's two really good stories. One is that one. There's a full version and an edited version. Watch the edited one's 31 minutes. There's a full one that's about an hour and something. And then the other one that's really good to watch is how a pair of tweezers defeated security on the Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii at the time was touted as the most secure system, unhackable, blah 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 blah. And
I hacked mine.
Yeah, well, this is how they hacked it originally. Before like once the hack came commonplace, it was easy. But this is how they actually developed that hack, and how they did it through, once again, managed to do it through software. They actually used they discovered a hidden processor inside the GPU, and they activated code when it was launching the GameCube section of the game. Like, it's amazing. It's really, really, really fun to watch, that sort of stuff. It's just
whack the links on the Aussie Tech Heads page, or send them to me and I'll put them there since you're banned.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if we're going to talk about old games, I should mention that today was the announcement of the completion of Fix-It Felix Jr. for the Commodore 64.
Oh, really?
Yep, they're going to release it very soon, but they've got a video on YouTube, and it's really, really good. I had a look at somebody else did a version for the Amiga, which is okay, but the Commodore 64 one looks exactly like the arcade in the movie, and also has the samples. So he's got, I'm gonna wreck it.
Oh, nice.
I can fix it. And jumps around. It looks really, really good. They got the big cranes that come on, build nice land towers, and then the crane goes off, and then a giant Wreck-It Ralph comes on and does his sample, and then jumps up the top and starts wrecking the building, and the whole building and everything starts shaking. And then he drops bricks down on your head that you have to try and block with your helmet to stop them breaking the windows and stuff.
It does. It looks awesome.
Isn't that amazing? But the one for the Amiga, instead of those windows shattering like that, it's just got a circle black hole over the window. was like, oh, you didn't even try.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
searched
WIP3 was the latest one.
Yeah, that was yeah. Oh yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wreck it.
I'm going to wreck it.
Fix it, Felix.
Oh, nice. Yep, that'll be one to watch.
So I'll definitely get that if they put on Itch.io or whatever. So whack it on my Commodore 64 and start playing it. Awesome old-timey stuff.
It reminds me, that architecture and that pattern and design reminds me a lot of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
On the C64. Yeah. It's a cross between Ghostbusters on that and... What was it on the Atari? Used to climb the buildings. You're the monsters and you climb the buildings and wreck them.
Rampage.
So it's kind of a cross between those.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned that recently. They're like, oh, Wreck-It Ralph is a bit like Rampage, destroying the buildings. And
so yeah, it is, except you don't have someone fixing it. You've just got two players wrecking it.
Yeah.
So that's your
old fart geeks
for this week. Yeah, we got to incorporate that occasionally. Can't just let it go completely.
No, every week that's our segment at the start of every week show. I reckon we should just do old fart geeks.
Yeah, sounds. I'm fine with it. The problem is it'll end up being longer than the show if we head our way.
Everyone who's listening is probably an old fart geek anyway.
Well,
none of you teenagers listen to this kind of stuff with a couple of old guys reminiscing.
Hello.
Blurring his face. Unblur yourself, son.
Hello.
You're not on. You're not on the TV show Cops.
Bad boys.
Google has removed 49 Chrome extensions from the web store that posed as legitimate cryptocurrency wallet apps, but contained malicious code that stole the crypto wallet private keys, mnemonic phrases, and other raw secrets. The 49 extensions were discovered by Harry Denley, Director of Security at My Crypto Platform, who shared his findings exclusively last week. Denley says the 49 extensions appear to have been put together by the same person or group believed to be Russian-based threat actor. It's just wait till the Russians get here. It's always the Russians.
Yeah,
we hate the Chinese fault. Now, not the Russians. What's going on?
I know, right?
Get with the program. Whilst the extensions all function the same, the branding is different depending on the user they are targeting. The My Crypto security researcher said he has identified malicious extensions posing as known crypto wallet apps such as Ledger, Trezor, Jax, Electrum, My Ether Wallet, MetaMask, Exodus, and KeepKey. The malicious extensions all work nearly identically to the real ones. However, any data a victim enters during configuration steps is sent to one of the attacker's servers or a Google form. However, thefts from users' accounts don't happen right away. In a controlled experiment, Denley said he entered the credentials of a test account into one of the malicious extensions, yet the funds were not immediately stolen. He believes the threat actor is interested in stealing funds from high-value accounts only, or the attacker hasn't figured out how to automate the theft and has to access each account manually. Nonetheless, he says that thefts are happening. The researchers tied some publicly reported incidents to some of the 49 extensions he has been recently tracking. Unfortunately, due to the nature of most cryptocurrencies, victims cannot recover any of the stolen funds. Furthermore, since the threat actor behind this campaign is still at large and other malicious extensions are expected to pop up on the web store in the coming months, it's now encouraging users to file reports on the crypto scam database if they believe any of their Chrome extensions might be behind future wallet hacks and lost funds. Such reports help him and others to track down malicious extensions faster and have them taken down from the Chrome web store.
I'm sorry, the entire article, I was more distracted by what's going on over here. Hang on, where is it?
Is he asleep?
Is he going to let me scroll across? Oh, it's not.
No.
Man.
Womp womp.
It's not a tablet. Dang it. I don't know if you can see that.
Amazon stock thing.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't really see it. Hang on, let me do it this way.
He's a bit ripped, that guy.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on there? And then he's got
Jeff Bezos.
He's got the mask and the Asian face with the mask happening over here. I was like, what on earth? Oh dear.
Crazy stuff, man. What do you got for us?
Something you'd appreciate.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I know, right? Couple of quick stories. Just this one just got me because I just love the headline. Florida lawyer forgets to wear shirt for Zoom court hearing. It seems some professionals are... hang on, I'll get the buttons right in a minute. It seems some professionals are adjusting better than others to working from home. One Florida judge has had enough. Working... Basically, yeah, in Florida, for example, there's a worrying phenomenon. Some lawyers appear to be taking liberties during Zoom court hearings. Things have become so difficult that County Judge Dennis Bailey felt compelled to make an announcement on the Western Bar Association. He observed that judges would appreciate if the lawyers and their clients kept in mind their Zoom hearings are just that, hearings. They're not casual phone conversations. It's easy to confuse working from home for a very casual Friday, though. This thought seems to have reached troubling proportions. It's remarkable how many attorneys appear inappropriately on camera. We've seen many lawyers in casual shirts and blouses with no concern for ill grooming in bedrooms with the master bed in the background.
And what's on the night table, ladies?
Yeah, I know, right? So this is sort of goes in hand with what I was saying before about Zoom. There's another one. Zoom bombing disrupts a House Oversight Committee meeting. It's infiltrated the highest level of government. The US Congressman says miscreants have managed to disrupt a Zoom meeting held in the highest level of US government despite warnings against using the software. The event took place on April 3rd, according to a letter sent to the House. In spite of warnings by the FBI and media outlets, you held a Zoom-hosted member briefing on women's rights in Afghanistan with the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, Jordan wrote. During this important briefing, the session was Zoom-bombed and at least 3 times. So, I don't understand, if you... Zoom's changed their protocol, so the random number attack no longer works. That's not a thing. If you display the meeting ID or an email address that's associated with it, then you can join it. But when you join it, you go into a lobby. Once you go into the lobby, you then have to be accepted into the meeting. So it's not Zoom's fault that whoever's running the Zoom software accepts random people into the meeting. I'll show you.
Oh, look, Mr. Donald Trump wants to join into our meeting. Accept.
If I show, it's a bit hard to see because it's a bit zoomed out, but there's a whole thing here saying, security, so I can actually lock the meeting at this point with the 2 of us if I chose to, and nobody else could join. Or I can go to manage participants, and when they first load in, they come into here, and then you then have the choice from this point whether you want to accept them or kick them out or, do all sorts of things like that. It's not like it's easy to get in. You've got to specifically be allowed in. Then the only other time it becomes an issue is if you, which they've actually now fixed again because they've actually removed the meeting ID off the title bar. So even if you're not in full screen anymore, it no longer shows the meeting ID up here like it used to.
Yep.
So that was one way they were getting it because it's showing the meeting ID there. The other way they'll do it is if you go to... go back to full screen. If you go to... where are we? Manage participants, then you can go invite, and then you've got this one here. Now you can see it's showing the meeting ID there. So technically anybody can now join because that's the meeting ID. But it's, if you've got the
up ding dong.
Yeah, it's going to come up ding dong.
Do you want him to join?
You still got to let somebody in, and if you want to, then all you need to do is just lock the meeting and nobody else can join anyway. So I don't
and
really...
here's my question. Even if they have the meeting ID up there, how are people seeing it? You would have to be streaming it live to Twitch or Facebook or YouTube or something.
Well, you got to remember
for a random person to see it.
Yeah, at 1080. Well, a lot of people do.
I can't just start up Zoom and suddenly I can see somebody's meeting ID that I'm not invited to.
I'll give you an example of what happens. 'Cause I actually watched this happen live a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Whose Line anyway? Obviously can't get into the studio at the moment, so they're doing virtual streams.
Yep.
On YouTube, and what they're doing. Let's see if I can find. I don't know if this isn't my account, so it's not bookmarked. Whose Line is it anyway? Live stream? Let's try that. See if that comes up. Yeah, here we go. So what they're doing is they are broadcasting, obviously
do live
live
stream.
onto Facebook. Now it's
Yes,
okay.
streaming live.
Shush. So it's okay for the majority of them because they know how to handle it and stuff like that. But what happens is somebody will share a screen. I don't know if it's in this particular one that happened, but in one of them, somebody shared their screen and
live stream.
their picture of their Zoom window came up and had their meeting ID up in the corner.
Ryan Styles 1 at iCloud.com.
Yeah, and there is the classic example. He had his email address. He's since changed it, but he had his email address down the bottom there because he didn't realise that you could put anything else. He thought he had to have his email
Mine
address
has
to log
my
in.
name on it.
Yeah.
Why would you put...
Because Ryan knows nothing about technology, like literally nothing about technology. But not only that, he's the one who shared the meeting ID and he managed to share his phone number all in the same episode.
Way to go, Ryan.
So that can happen, you know. It's
well,
not,
we wouldn't share our screens like, oh, you just did.
it's not, you know, super uncommon that people share their screens. They don't know, but generally you would. What I don't get is in a meeting situation with the White House, for example.
Why are you sharing a screen on a live stream?
Why is that being shared? You know, that's where it gets.
And why is it live streamed?
Yeah, that's the thing I don't understand, that part of it. For the average person, yeah, but why are business meetings having the same issue? I don't know.
Because they has the dumb.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all I can think of. I don't understand how. It's back in the day when you used to go in to have your stream key and you'd be live streaming and you're going to Twitch to set your stream key up or something, and as soon as you go into settings, it was the first thing you saw.
Yeah.
Now
and it gets streamed out to everyone.
Yeah, now they've encrypted it and you've got to actually click on the link to do something about it. But back in the day, yeah, as soon as you clicked on settings, the stream key was the first thing that came up and everybody got a copy of your stream key, you know, so it can happen. No, Glenn Goodman's joined the chat. Good to see he's still awake.
Oh, that's trouble.
What happened there? How's he still awake?
So, yes, as I was saying, very, very serious.
So,
do you use GitHub?
Occasionally, very rarely.
Well, GitHub, the Microsoft-owned software hosting site, said on Tuesday it will reduce prices on one of its most popular paid tiers and also moving a key feature of all its paid plans into its existing free tier. Now, GitHub says the Teams subscription, which previously cost $9 a month, will now be $4 per user a month. All existing paid customers on the plan will move to the new pricing model starting today. And for those who want to use GitHub for private development but didn't want to pay the per user price, the company now says you'll be able to sign up for the free version of GitHub and access that feature for the first time. They'll now grant you access to unlimited collaborators on private repositories, something that used to require you to pay for one of GitHub's subscriptions. Prior to this change, the free model of GitHub gave you unlimited repositories so long as they were public, effectively ensuring the platform's free plan couldn't be used by a startup or small company. While the $7 a month Pro plan added unlimited collaborators and a few other perks while maintaining the public requirement. Beyond the free, Pro, and Team tiers, GitHub sells an enterprise and even more feature-rich GitHub One plan with special pricing, typically negotiated by sales teams for large companies and organizations. We're happy to announce that we are making private repositories with unlimited collaborators available to all GitHub accounts, they said. All of the core GitHub features are now free for everyone. Until now, if your organization wanted to use GitHub for private development, you had to subscribe to one of our paid plans, but every developer on Earth should have access to GitHub. Price should be a barrier. Microsoft does something right.
Yeah, I mean, was it an accident? Like, did they mean to do that? So I don't know. I mean,
many people use GitHub.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm just looking through the categories now. Like, it's literally got everything on there. I have used it a couple of times, but I can't say I use it very much.
That's where I was storing all the versions of my VZ gaming engine that I was writing. I was committing it all to GitHub, and then when I was happy with it, I would publish where I was up to, so people would have the latest version. Then I start on the next lot of coding and just wait till I got that right and then publish an update to everything. So because before what I was doing was I had on my WordPress a download section which had a plugin that would count the number of downloads and where they came from and all that crap like you usually do. But then when a new version comes out, I would have to go to the downloads page, upload the new version, put this is a new version and all this crap on there. It was a pain in the ass to do all of that. So then I just said, look, I'll just put it all on GitHub. When I've got a version I'm happy with, I hit publish. Bang, it's there. Anyone can download the current latest one if they go there. And I put a link to that GitHub from my website. And then it's always got the latest thing going and you never have to update anything. So you can download a zip with everything together if you want to, or you can just view the raw data or all of that. It's really, really good. So yeah, I was using it a lot for that.
Yeah, no, I see it a lot, like browsing websites, especially websites on like makers sites where you're designing and developing a lot of stuff. You tend to see a lot of links to it. As I said, I haven't used it a lot, but yeah, it's definitely something I have used on the odd occasion, and it's always served its purpose, you know.
Yep.
So, so something a little bit different.
And now for something completely different.
No, not completely different, just a little bit different.
A man with 3 buttocks.
Luxury yacht. So there's a lot of things on YouTube, survivalist camping and, you know, how to survive in the wilderness and bug out camping and all this sort of stuff. But there's one I saw a while ago, and it was called the BioLite stove. Now, originally, it wasn't super great. The original one, actually, this is the second one I'm looking at here, but it looked very similar. Basically, what it was a stove, like a jet stove that you'd light a fire in. It had a thermocouple on the back of it, like a Peltier sort of deal, that would turn the heat into electricity. It then had an onboard battery that you could store the power in, and then you could charge your phone and whatever from that. Now, it did take a while. It took several hours to, you know, charge up and to charge your phone and things like that. But they have released a newer version now that I had up here, and for some reason I don't. But anyway, because technology. But it's a slightly bigger jet stove. It's still not real big, but it's a little bit bigger. Has a more efficient design in it, and it has a bigger onboard battery. This one only had like I think it was a 2 or 3 amp hour onboard battery, so realistically it really struggled to charge a modern phone. The new one will charge your phone like 3 or 4 times. It takes only a couple of hours to charge.
Nice.
And they've got like a built-on fan as well, so it can fan the fire. So it's a cooking, like it's literally something you can use to cook with as well. It's not just a phone device. You take it camping with you, you set it up. It's cooking your dinner. While you're cooking your dinner, you're charging your phone. The reason I like it now is the price has actually finally come down a bit to reflect the. I had the price up here, then Amazon. There was one left, and it was displaying the price, and apparently somebody's now bought that one. And it's no longer available, so it doesn't display the price anymore. Joys of live shows. But yeah, it has now come to a point where it's at a reasonable price now.
On the BioLite website, it says $149.95 US.
US, yeah. Well, I think it's only about 200 Australian now if you get it through Amazon. I think I saw it at, which makes it about $90 or so US, 90 or $100 US. So it's a really good way to have a practical alternate way to cook something if you lose power. But as well as that, it also allows you to charge your phone, to run an LED light, you know, to do a couple of small things, so you're not completely stranded without power.
Oh, here we go. 191.96 AUD.
What was that on?
BioLiteEnergy.com.
Okay, yeah. I think it's actually a bit cheaper on Amazon.
But they've also got a coffee press camp stove.
Yeah.
By all those to go with it.
They got a few things, actually. It's pretty decent. The only reason I mention it, yeah, because, you know, everyone's talking about, you know, everyone's freaking out about, you know, things going to pot. But, you know, this is a practical solution to a problem. But it also is something, because of the way it's designed, it can sit in the cupboard for 2 years and you never have to use it.
Yep.
But when you do use it, it's simple. You've only got to make a fire, and even people who live in the middle of town shouldn't have too much of a trouble, coming up with some sticks and twigs to make a fire for a couple of hours,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit oddball, but I quite enjoy that sort of thing. It's it covers many aspects of technology, I just thought it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
It uses. This is where everything falls down. If you've ever had one of these gimmicky little, where are we? If you've ever had one of these gimmicky little, like fridges, you get those little can fridges that you plug into USB and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they run off a Peltier. So they have a fan, and there's a Peltier chip in there, a thermocouple in there that produces heat on one side, produces cold on the other. The more heat you get off one side, the more cold you get on the other. Well, that's basically what they're using, but they're reversing the process. They're putting that side up against the fire and creating heat on that side, which is creating the power inside the thermocouple and the Peltier, and generating the electricity. So it's an old technology. A lot of in the old days, back when 586s and Pentiums became a thing, Peltier cooling was quite a common way to chill your CPU for overclocking. When you wanted to overclock your Pentium 90 to a Pentium 100. But Peltier cooling was quite a common thing, and so it's not a new technology; it's an older technology, but it's just good to see it's being used for stuff.
Do those USB fridges work very well?
They work okay if you put a cold can in them, it will keep it cold. If you put a hot can in it, in a couple of days it will chill it, but it won't really chill a hot can.
Yeah. But that's what you want, isn't it? You bring the can out of the fridge, take it to work, and whack it in there and keep it cold.
Or it's the other way. Some of them have a hot cold selector. So you can do the same thing. You can put it on hot. Yeah, you can put it on hot and put your coffee in there or whatever, and it keeps it hot. It works better if it's away from breeze, like an aircon or a fan. If you can put it sort of in the corner where it's in still air, it works a lot better because it can't generate enough cold to keep replenishing the little. And if you insulate it with a little bit of foam, it works even better. They do have pocket warmers. Same thing. They use that Peltier chip that slides inside your glove. And they run off a little rechargeable LiPo battery that you have in your top pocket. And so you can put them in your shoes and put them in your gloves so it keeps your hands and feet warm.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
And you like the little devices. So the TurboGrafx 16 Mini is available now for $99.99 US. And it's the latest in a growing line of miniature plug-and-play devices based on beloved consoles. While you can purchase the console now, shipments in Europe and North America have been delayed due to the ongoing pandemic. It's a trend Nintendo started in 2016 with the NES Classic, and so far it has covered everything from well-crafted tiny consoles like the excellent Sega Genesis Mini to more disappointing fare like Sony's slapdash PlayStation Classic. One thing all of these devices had in common, though, is that they were miniature versions of best-selling hardware. The TurboGrafx 16 Mini fills a different niche. For many people, it won't be a chance to revisit classic games from their youth, but instead an opportunity to discover a period of retro gaming they likely missed out for the first time. The most notable thing about the TurboGrafx 16 Mini hardware is that it's not exactly mini. Sure, it's smaller than an Xbox, but compared to other miniature consoles, it's downright huge. The device measures 240mm by 156 by 35, and roughly it's about the same size as two SNES Classics placed side by side. If you're looking for a smaller option, there's the Japan-only PC Engine Mini or Europe's Core Graphics Mini, which are functionally almost identical. Like the original device, the TurboGrafx 16 Mini is black, rectangular slide with a curve on its back. The new version mostly looks like the original, though a number of features like the cartridge slot on the front and auxiliary switches on the side are purely decorative now. Aside from the console itself, you'll also get a single controller that plugs into the front of the TurboGrafx via USB, as well as separate micro USB cable for power. Though it should be noted that the console doesn't come with an AC adapter to actually plug the cable in. You'll need to provide your own. A nice touch for fans of cable management, the rear curved section of the mini console pops off so you can plug in the HDMI and USB cables, but in a way that looks nice and tidy once you put the back cover back on. Overall, it's about what you expect from a mini console at this point, with plastic construction that isn't exactly premium but sits a notch or two above feeling cheap. At the very least, the power switch is very satisfying to flip on. Of course, the most important part of any plug and play device is its library, and the TurboGrafx 16 comes with a lot of games. There are 25 English titles, but you can also swap over to the PC Engine option in the main menu at any point for 32 more Japanese games. There's some overlap between the two, and not every title is playable if you can't speak Japanese. Hideo Kojima's cyberpunk adventure Snatcher, for instance, is full of text, so it won't work if you don't know the language, but there are a number of titles like Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and plenty other classic shoot 'em ups that are perfectly accessible even if you don't understand Japanese.
I like the control pad.
Pretty nice. It's got a DIN plug just like the
Yeah.
power supply of my Commodore 64.
DIN, I think it's more like an S video plug.
Is it?
It's smaller than the DIN, I think. Interesting.
You ever look much at the TurboGrafx stuff?
I've looked at it. Yeah, it's S video by the looks of it.
Oh, right.
I've looked at it, but
I don't know much about it at all.
It's that crossover period where they went arcade games, and then they tried to put arcade games onto consoles.
Yep.
So it's hard to explain. It's like trying to think of some of the games in the time on arcade, like Turbo.
Space Harrier?
There was a car one. I can't think what it was, but it was just a, and
Turbo Esprit?
Yeah, maybe it was that one. I can't think of that, but yeah, it's that sort of, all the games of that sort of feel where they were arcade and they sort of went, oh, let's just put them on a console.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting actually to see. I don't think it's bad, but I mean, it's not. I was trying to
Not something I'd get because I hardly was into consoles. Mine was mostly actual computers with keyboards. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Like, I've got the Nintendo Mini Classic, and it was great for a week, but then you realise that they've really badly upscaled stuff, and they haven't managed stuff properly, and just nothing about it felt, like there's basically a classic Atari console, the same sort of thing,
Yeah.
And I don't know, they just never felt right. They didn't have that feeling that you wanted out of them,
Not enough nostalgia.
I think the part of the problem is they made them mini, and they're not designed to be mini. They were a massive console. This Atari that they've replicated this off, this thing was about 2 foot long and 1 foot wide. Like, it was a huge console.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the excitement. You'd grab this console out of the cupboard, you'd take it over the TV, you'd put it on the floor, you'd go and run the power cable from halfway across the lounge room because there's no power points. You go and plug the antenna cable in the other side of the lounge room. You got 14 foot of cable on the controller because the console's way over there. I think it was the experience of the thing rather than the games. The games are great.
I had one or two where you had to actually unscrew the aerial that had those wide clips and screw in the left and right.
Yeah, that was the adapters you could get that turned it into an RF adapter. Yeah. And I think that's all part of it. Like, that was the experience of it. That was how it made you, like, it was the build up to the game. Like, you didn't just go and play a game. It was a process. You had to really want to play that game because you had to be committed to the cause. It was
unless you had homework.
Yeah, well,
then you're in serious trouble.
And then you had some games like Pitfall that didn't have a save game option. Every time you played it, you had to start from the start, and it's a several hundred level game. So you'd be playing it for 3 or 4 hours, and you'd run out a weekend, and you're like, okay, you'd really carefully grab the console and you'd pick it up and you'd really carefully move it across and you'd put it down in the corner and you just carefully unplug the aerial, you leave the power cable hooked up to it, and it was just like, you didn't want to disturb that cartridge because the thing would crash and you'd lose all it was this whole excitement and build up and drama and everything around playing of
We
the
want
game.
the full experience.
Well, honestly, I think that's what it is. If you bought back a classic Nintendo or an Atari 2600 or even a Sega Mega Drive, not so much the later ones and the GameCubes and PlayStation, but pre that, even the Commodore 64s or the Amstrads or the Amigas, and you made people, like you brought back the CRT monitors, the Commodore, I can't think of the part number, but the Commodore monitors.
1084S.
Everybody sought after because they were just fantastic quality. Yeah, they were
It's hard to get them on eBay now, 1084Ss.
The amount of those I threw out when I worked at the computer store in Melbourne, we must have thrown 100 of them out.
They're like $600 each.
I know. We couldn't get rid of them. Looking back now, it's like, there's thousands.
Well, what about me? I had the Commodore 64 Mini for a couple of years, hardly used it. Now I ended up buying an actual Commodore 64 to get the full experience. You plug a cartridge in there, it's got the Epix fast loader.
And that's the thing. If you combined a handful of the things, like instead of having a Commodore 64 with a tape drive, if you put the SD card on it so you can at least load the game in reasonable time, then I think you got the best of both worlds there, and I think it becomes an enjoyable experience, but you still get the whole experience that goes with it, not just the... I mean, modern games are great. Don't get me wrong. I play them quite often, and I enjoy them. But it's a whole different thing. You literally sit down, load the game, play it. Like there's no other work involved, unless it's a VR game. It's a little bit more, but there's no other work involved in playing a game. You don't have, especially if you get friends over. Remember on some of the other, there were some consoles that were, well, most were 2-player, but some could have up to 4 players with adapters and Y connectors,
split screen.
Some of them you could have 2 consoles linked together, and I think you could play 4-player through 2 consoles. And then you've got a 24-inch, 26-inch TV, and you've got 4 screens. I mean, look at the Nintendo 64 playing 4-player GoldenEye.
Yeah,
and we used to play that on a 14-inch portable TV in my bedroom. There's 4 of us playing on a screen this big. Each of us get this screen,
But it was fun.
It was great. It was so much fun and so enjoyable. And there's very, very few PC games that you can sit down at the same PC and play the same game.
So what you want them to do with these minis is have it so that the mini has got Wi-Fi, and your friend can buy a mini as well, and then it'll do split screen so you and your friend can be on the same screen. You have your Discord going. He could be at his home because of COVID, or he lives in bloody Brisbane when you live on the mid-north coast in New South Wales, and you can split the screen and both play just like the old days, so you got the 2 on the same screen.
Yeah, and then you can screen snipe.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like that. But it's not even that part. It was the experience of getting to that point.
Yeah.
Like, how many times did you put the cartridge into the Nintendo before it would work? Like, it became it was like a mini game. Yeah. How many times can I blow into this cartridge and make this thing before it actually works? And then when it does load, is it loading the whole game, or is it loading part of the game and the sprite's wrong? And I've got.
And if we're going to talk about a mixture of new and old, ray tracing is coming to Minecraft for reals.
Yes.
And built in.
Yes. I've seen that. I mean, it's been on as a mod, like texture pack, for a while, but interesting to see how they managed to do it on the game.
I don't know how long before that's coming out, but I noticed that there was a news article about it recently, so I put on my Facebooks.
So ray tracing is a little bit hard to explain for people who don't understand it, but it basically changes the way the light comes back to you, I guess, instead of it just being...
Basically, they start with the pixels in the screen, and they send a beam of light from there through in memory in 3D realms. They send it, and then it bounces off here. And depending on what it's bouncing off, it could be shiny, it could be dull, it could be water or something like that. Will change how it refracts and all that. So you get shadows in certain places, which you can light up with an actual torch, and it'll light up certain areas properly. But also it gets the lighting correct. So if you've got something overhanging something, there won't be light there. But if you put a torch on the wall here, it won't light up around the corner
Yeah, and
and
you can
stuff
see the
like that.
shadows in behind the vines and
Yeah. So if you've got a shiny window here, it might reflect the sunlight or your torch light back off this way, which will illuminate something over there as well.
so it's probably out, the new snapshot, April 16th. It's coming out for beta
There
testing.
we go.
But yeah, so yeah, it just changes the way that you see, you know, that's normal Minecraft, the way it looked there, and then you go into a ray tracing.
Yep. There we
you know,
go.
and you can just see the way it completely
Like the
changes.
light filtering through the tree leaves is going to come up with a different look.
Yeah. You know, and these are default game textures. They haven't changed the textures. They're just adding lighting to it.
Yep.
You know, there are a lot of cases where with mod packs and that you can change textures. You can get full on realistic looking. Hello, puppy.
So you could saw the dog there standing on a reflective gold block, and you could see the dog reflected on there like a mirror.
And they've been the problem with the add-ons, no matter how good they are, because they're not part of the default game, they're never optimized super great.
Yeah,
and
you
they
need
always
super
cause
fast
issues.
computer for it.
I mean, I can play them. I can on my system, but they're still not. They still don't feel part of the game because they're not.
Yeah,
they're being pushed onto a graphic after the graphics being displayed. So that's always kind of have this not quite right feeling about
tacked on kludgy thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you know in Minecraft you can get different colored windows. So if you put up a green window, the inside of your house is going to be a bit greenish from the sunlight outside. Or if you put up glass here and put a torch on that side and it's purple glass, then it's going to have purple lighting up the room on the other side and stuff like that. It's going to be possible.
Yeah, no, it definitely. And then if you use that with like a realistic texture pack as well, you're going to have like something like let's see. Do they have the?
What was the one everybody used, Specs or something?
Yeah, well, there's a few like photo realistic ones now, you know, and these are just the texture packs. So you add these with ray tracing, they're going to look phenomenal.
Yep.
So I think this is the texture pack I've actually got installed. But yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so no, it's good to see. Everyone was concerned that once Microsoft took over, they're basically just going to sit on it and not doing anything with it.
It's going to die.
But it's gone the complete opposite. They've actually turned it into it's basically modded Minecraft now.
Yeah.
it's if you haven't played the vanilla one for a while, or you've been playing on an older server that hasn't updated, you're going to have struggle to play. There's nether stuff and there's underwater stuff.
Different biomes in the nether.
Oh yeah, it's just insane. There's new animals and mobs and critters.
There's stuff that kills you if you stay outside at night too much.
Yeah, there's more of that.
Yeah.
So it's
why not?
Yeah, that looks good. Speaking of really old stuff that's been given a new twist,
Me?
the next gen iPhone.
Oh,
Do you like to see what I did there?
you went there.
The next gen iPhone SE is an iPhone without the pointless overpriced gimmicks.
SE2.
Apple's going back to its roots. It's a high-end phone. Does 99% of the users want from a smartphone without the cost and complexity of gizmos and gimmicks that are included for a hefty price tag. They dropped its Face ID.
I don't use mine on
nobody
Samsung anyway.
They're just going back to the old Touch ID. The screen's down to a more reasonable 4.7 inch. They've just run their older processor a little bit instead of putting a top end processor in it. Drop the camera specs a little bit, and it's $400.
Nice.
That'd be US, I'd imagine. So that's probably $800, $1,000 still, but that's nearly $1,000 less than the equivalent iPhone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it's interesting. I was reading another article that I didn't load up, but I was reading another article saying that research cutting edge research. They've spent all this time and effort and energy on research. Apparently, teenagers don't use Android. They use iPhones.
No way.
I know, right?
Dude, you blow my mind.
Lucky they spent, hundreds of man hours coming to that conclusion, because they never would have been able to figure it out otherwise.
Asked anyone.
So, but once
I got funding for that, damn it.
I know,
I'm going to use my funding for something.
That's probably what it is. Once they got older and wiser, they realised that...
It's like they're like, oh, we need to do something with our funding. What are we going to... Let's work out why people get ice cream headaches. Yeah, we'll just spend 6 months figuring that out, and we'll write some quick little thing. There we go. There's my $120,000.
That's it. And Google has released a Braille keyboard on Android, which is interesting. It doesn't sort of sound like something that you can actually do, but helping the vision impaired type directly on their Android device without needing to connect to a physical Braille keyboard. They've released a TalkBack Braille keyboard on Android to allow users with low vision to type on their phones. According to Google Android Accessibility Product Manager Brian Keemar, the new feature removes the need to connect a physical Braille keyboard. It's a fast, convenient way to type on your phone without any additional hardware, whether you're posting on social media, responding to text, or writing a brief email. As part of our mission to make the world's information universally accessible, we hope this keyboard can broadly expand Braille literacy. Uses a standard 6-key layout, and each of the keys represents one of 6 Braille dots. When tapped, make the letter for the symbol. For instance, pressing dot 1 would type an A, and pressing dot 1 and 2 would type a B. It can be used where typing usually allows letters and words to be deleted, lines added, and text to be submitted. The TalkBack Braille keyboard can be turned on and set up through the accessibility section within settings, and turned off again, just like the standard keyboards. The TalkBack gestures are not supported when the keyboard is on, though, as yet. So currently supports Android devices running version 5 or higher. Supports Braille grade 1 and 2 and will be available initially in English. Said the new keyboard will work across all apps.
Sweet.
Last year, the tech giant introduced Live Transcribe and Sound Amplifier to Android to help the deaf, hard of hearing community. Like Live Transcribe, as its namesake, uses a phone's microphone to transcribe real words spoken into captions in real time. And a Sound Amplifier uses a phone and a set of headphones to filter, augment, and amplify sound so that users can better hear conversations.
Nice.
So you can see basically you hold the phone in landscape, and you sit your 3 fingers on the screen, and depending on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you can make up all the main letters and number combinations required to type.
Sweet.
I don't know Braille, so I can't tell you what they are and how they work, but I do understand the concept behind Braille.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool, though.
I actually did try to learn it at one point.
Auslan would be good to learn.
Is this stupid? Shut up.
We're not starting again, man. I've had it.
Oh, man, I tell you, it's just one of those days. I was pressing the button for this screen, but it, for whatever reason, just refused to trigger this screen. So I whatever.
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty triggered right now. So thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Show Broadcast Weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, and youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Email us Glenn, Will, and Warlock at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com 24/7 back-to-back play of some of the best tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand. New shows are added each Friday. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See ya. Bye.